guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and if you're already subscribed, welcome back. So today I'm going to be reading off some stories from Let's Not Meet, Friend Edition. I know that a lot of us have had friends that just didn't turn out to be the person that we thought they were. I've had many experiences where I've had friends just turn on me or just not be the person that I thought they were. So I thought this would be a perfect, Let's Not Meet Friends edition. So yeah, let's get started. Oh, and by the way, I've filmed this video, I want to say this is the 4th time. I've had so many issues, so it's not even that I'm not even recording videos for you guys. It's just the fact that every time I try to record, just something happens. I don't know, just camera issues, battery issues, memory issues. And this is actually the first time where my battery is full, my memory is full, and thankfully my camera hasn't shut off. So hopefully I can be able to read as many as I can. If not, at least I'm gonna try to make it short. So I'm gonna try to do at least maybe 2, because I know a lot of these stories are a little bit long. So we'll see how many I can do. Okay. And that's my dog in the background. You can't tell because she's so black, but just if you see anything moving, it's my dog. So this first story, it's called My Creepy Friend Ben. I had a very creepy friend. We'll call him Ben. I believe he might be a dangerous psychopath, or at worst a serial killer. Ben and I met on FB in 2014, and he came to meet me in Romania in the summer of 2015. He seemed a little bit odd, but otherwise okay. One strange thing about him is that while he was at my house for a week, he didn't bathe for some odd reason, so he stank. So I show him around Transylvania, and we both rent an apartment in Bucharest? Before his departure. We hang around Bucharest. Oh my god, I don't know how to say this word. Bucharest? I'll put the little city on top. And he leaves. Our friendship continues online, and in 2016, I moved back to Canada. In May of that year, I fly over to Vancouver to hang out with him. Now, it's important to know that this guy is a major gun nut. He collects a lot of firearms and claims to have briefly been in the Canadian Army. He also claims he worked as a mercenary and was in Georgia during the Russian invasion in 2008. He claimed to have shot 2 people there and also suffers from PTSD. I get there and his apartment is filthy. I'm talking trash everywhere. 2 cats that made the place stink of cat piss. The guy kept his light on 24/7, and on his wall was a clock that played a loud tune every hour. His behavior towards me while there was somewhat disrespectful, but I just took it as a buddy messing around with me. He said mildly creepy things, but again, I brushed it off as him being a prankster. I leave, and again our friendship continues online. During this time, his conversations with me became darker and more hostile in a passive-aggressive sort of way. Ben is also a hardcore alcoholic who drinks until he passes out. He does all sorts of antisocial and downright vile things while drunk. Also, during this time, 2016 through 2017 period, he said that 2 men briefly lived with him for a short time. When I pressed him about what happened to those men who lived with him, he changed the subject quickly. After what happened in 2018, when I last met up with Ben, I have a strong suspicion something bad might have happened to them. So fast forward 2018, and me and my parents are driving to Vancouver from Calgary. Perfect time to meet up for a day or 2 with Ben. Big mistake. Ben is traveling from Kelowna to Vancouver, and we meet up at a bar near his house. We have a few drinks and he goes home for the night. Next day we meet up and his behavior towards me is disrespectful in a passive-aggressive way and extremely creepy. We go to his workplace and he's very disrespectful to me and his co-workers. He's putting me on the spot and trying to make me look stupid to everyone around. He was a supervisor, so most of the people underneath him were too complacent or afraid to say anything. This man was obviously a psychopath. This is where it gets to a point where I believe my life was in danger. We go back to his place, he's drinking beer, and I'm rolling a joint. A movie is playing and Ben is getting tipsy. He's basically now adopted a speech pattern in our conversation where I feel as though I'm being interrogated and toyed with. He's playing a video game on his computer. I'm watching a movie. By this time I'm feeling very uneasy. My gut instinct is telling me to leave. Generally speaking, you always listen to your gut instinct. That primal thing inside you linked to fight or flight is best to be obeyed. Now, as the day progressed and as Ben was becoming drunk, he started saying very weird things. He was mumbling about, I don't care for anyone but myself. I don't give a shit about people. There's a loaded shotgun beside the table. He looks at his computer screen and starts mumbling about being a madman with a gun. A few minutes later, he turns to me and says, "Hey, what if I put some MDMA in your drink?" Followed by, "Haha, I'm just kidding." I have no idea what MDMA is. The cat and the mouse game continues. He's now talking about knowing a guy who is HIV positive and how he's going to get the guy to give him an infected needle to infect himself with HIV so he can live on government benefits for the rest of his life. This guy is fucking unhinged. I'm sitting there in disbelief at just how vile this guy really is. I want to leave, but I also don't want him to know I'm ready to go. It's an awful, vulnerable feeling. He has another beer and turns to me. I'm now very uncomfortable. The talk is now about food. He turns to me and looks me straight in the eyes and asks, "So, if this was your last meal, what would you have?" The look on his face was one of stone-faced sincerity and malice. I knew I had to flee. My heart is pounding. I need to make a move. With adrenaline rushing through my body, I tell Ben in a very calm manner that the weed I had is making me feel funny and I need to breathe a fresh of air. I quickly put on my shoes and leave before he has any chance to stop me. He makes me promise I'll be back. I go downstairs into the sunlight. I feel like an animal that just escaped slaughter. The place I'm staying at is not too far from Ben's house. I'm wise enough not to tell him where I'm staying at exactly. I start walking, feeling like I've just escaped certain death. The phone rings. Ben is asking where I'm at and that he's panicking. I tell him that I'm still taking a breather. Meanwhile, I get to my cousin's house. I somehow manage to get inside. Night has fallen. This guy is calling my phone constantly. When I answer, he's trying to get me to meet up with him and go for a ride. The tone in his voice is flat and fake. He says that we've just had a bad night. He's desperately trying to get me to go for a ride with him. I block his number. I block him on social media. That was the last time I spoke to that scumbag. In our online conversations over the years, Ben would drop clues here and there about his past. That he did horrible things during his supposed gig as a mercenary. He would go on drunken tirades about being a bad man having done bad things. He was going to AA meetings and trying to put a facade of normality by volunteering at an old folks' home. Deep down, I think he's a psychopath, a potentially dangerous one at that. And I just hope he never murdered anyone other than those 2 people he allegedly shot while on combat duty. Vancouver is a sketchy place full of missing people. I guess we'll never know. I don't know. Sometimes we gotta trust our gut, even if it's something small. So this next one is called "To My High School Friend, Let's Not Meet." So this happened a few months ago. I'm a sophomore in college. I was traveling down to my hometown over break. I was having some relationship issues with my stepmom, so I didn't want to stay at my dad's house the night I arrived at my hometown. So I phoned a friend of mine from high school if I could stay at his place. I knew from social media that he was still in town, and I've stayed at his place before, so I knew there would be a place for me to stay if they could allow it. My friend, let's call him Z, seemed like a pretty normal dude. We weren't best friends or anything, but we got pretty close by the time we graduated. We would occasionally text or hang out if I was in town, and catch up, reminisce on the times we spent in orchestra or in English class. When I called, he seemed extremely enthusiastic. Z's a normally upbeat guy, but this time it seemed like he was getting a brand new car. I didn't think about it at the time, and he said I could sleep at his guest room, so I headed over. When I got to his house, he was just as excited as he was on the phone. He was bringing up stuff to do, like getting high and watching weird movies or playing video games. Z's parents weren't home, so he really wanted to make an opportunity to smoke. I was pretty tired from the drive, but since we rarely see each other, I thought a little bit of bonding couldn't hurt. We played Smash Bros, smoked some weed, and just chat for a few hours. It was longer than I wanted, but I was having fun, so whatever, right? By the time I was getting late, around 2 a.m., he started asking some pretty weird questions, like if I've ever wondered what it was like to kill someone, or if I thought anyone would miss me if I was gone. This along with some pretty normal questions like if I had a boyfriend, or how my parents are doing, or if I'm making any friends at school. Gave me a weird feeling. I was confused at the moment, but it didn't hit me until after that Z could be assessing me for something bad. The weirdness of it all made me just want to go to bed. We stopped the game and both went into the basement where his room and the guest room were. We say goodnight, I go to my room and get ready for bed. I'm having trouble sleeping, just insomnia that I've had for a while. So I stay awake for around an hour until I hear some movement outside my room. The walls were pretty thin, so I could hear footsteps walking past my door and up the stairs to the main floor, then back down quickly after. What struck me as odd was that I didn't hear the basement door open, which creaks when it does. The light didn't turn on, so I was confused what Z was doing. I heard him back in his room, but I had this odd feeling, just ever since I met him this night. He seemed a lot different than he's ever been. I decided to look him up on social media and Google to see anything out of the ordinary. Everything seemed normal until I found his Tumblr, which was linked from his inactive Twitter account that I found on my Twitter contact list. His Tumblr was, well, disturbing. There were graphic drawings of mutilated bodies of humans and animals, links to suspicious looking websites that I didn't dare to click on, text posts, stories about murdering, cannibalism, necrophilia, and torture. There were photos of guns, knives, and axes, which after looking closely were taken in his room. The last post, around a week prior, was a text post from the account saying he wished he could find someone easy to kill, like a homeless person. I was immediately filled with dread. I knew he was going to do something. He must have gone upstairs to lock the door. I packed my things. Luckily, I packed lightly, and opened the small window at the top of my bedroom's wall. I started desperately climbing through, and as I was pulling my legs through, he opened the door. It was dark, but the street light illuminated enough for me to see he was carrying something long and skinny, so probably a knife. He didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. I just turned around, hopped in my car, and drove as fast as I could to my dad's house. I immediately blocked him everywhere and reported his Tumblr account, not before telling the police. They say they couldn't do anything as the guns were registered to his dad and he hasn't actually done anything, which is ridiculous. I can't stand when I hear all these stories that there's signs that these people could do something, but they can't do anything about it until they kill someone. That just doesn't even make any sense to me. Nevertheless, I told my other high school friends not to hang out with Z. Ever since then, I've been creeped out whenever I meet new people. Just the realization that someone I knew so well could underneath be this person who could hurt me so bad, who could kill me. I don't know what you're doing now, Z. I'm not sure I want to know. I just hope you're getting help. Anyway, let's not meet again. Okay, I think I have time to do one more. I don't want to make this video too long. So this last one is drugged by a friend and nearing suicide. I'm a 27-year-old female. At the time this occurred, I was a senior in high school, angsty and steady into partying. For this story, I'm going to hide her identity, slowly due to the rules. Let's call her Kay. Kay almost cost me my life, and I never want to see her ever again. A little backstory on Kay. She had grown up privileged, given anything she ever wanted. Her parents adopted her 5 cousins, and this is when she started to rebel. Her parents, well off, started to pay less attention to her, so Kay had all the freedom in the world. At the time this incident occurred, Kay was 18, and I had just turned 18. We were headed to a kickback at these guys' house, and nothing more than a little bit of weed was expected. Now, I had my share in smoking weed, popping pills here and there. I had just tried ecstasy the summer prior. However, I was planning on staying sober. Shaya picked me up and we stopped to buy cigs at a gas station. I bought a fountain drink, one with a straw and everything. This is crucial for later in the story. We arrive at the apartment and everyone is smoking, including Kay, but I declined. She would always say shit about how she never wanted to be high alone. Complained about how I never got as high as her, so I obliged. And I cleared the bong off her hit, not even taking a full hit. She asked for a drink of my soda, so I handed it to her. She had it for a good minute. I had my head turned, talking to someone at the kickback. When I looked back at Kay, she was messing with my straw. I didn't think much of it, and she handed it back to me. Within about 30 minutes or so, I started to feel intensely high, to the point that I needed to escape from the group. I'd go out front to smoke a cigarette, only to find that I couldn't stand up, so I laid on the front porch. Then all these dark thoughts flashed through my mind. I felt so sick, like my stomach was being torn open. I couldn't stand up. I had to crawl to the bushes to throw up. I thought to myself, all of this off clearing a bong? So I laid back on the porch. The apartment was located on a busy street in the city I live in. I also thought about running into the traffic because I felt like I was dying. So I gave myself 2 options. I could run into traffic, have a car hit me, and end this horrible pain I was in. Or I could get some help, maybe flag someone down. My mind wasn't in the right state. I knew nobody at the kickback would take me seriously. I knew something was terribly wrong. I thought about calling my mom. I must have dialed her number and hung up like 5 different times. Finally, I called and told her what had happened and that I didn't know why I was so high. Nobody else was feeling the way I felt. What seemed like an eternity later, Kay came outside looking for me. As I'm puking my guts out into the bushes, she asked me if I wanted to go get some food. I asked her if she was fucking serious. She laughed as I puked. What I didn't know is that my mother had called my older brother to pick me up, since he lived so close where I was. He showed up with a machete, ran inside and threatened people. He didn't know who gave me what. It wasn't until I got home that my brother took one look at my eyes and noticed how dilated my pupils were. So they rushed me to the ER. After more puking, of course. My memory there is a bit fuzzy. I just remember asking my sister-in-law if I was going to die and telling her that I was so scared. They ended up sedating me due to the fact that I was yelling and threatening the nurses, totally out of character for me. They did a tox screen, drug test, and found MDMA, the drug found in ecstasy, along with other drugs in my system. I'm assuming the other drugs were the ones used to make up the ecstasy. Now, this is all frightening and everything. However, what I found out a few days later shocked me to my core. Kay had been to a house party the next night. Somebody there said that she was passing out free ecstasy to 4 different people. Of those 4 people, 3 had grand mal seizures and had to be taken to the ER by ambulance. I'm assuming that whatever ecstasy she used was a bad batch. Remember when she asked me to have a drink of my soda? I assume this is when she dropped the pill inside and it dissolved. She probably crushed it beforehand or something. I have no clue. But at this time in my life, I hadn't done drugs for quite a while, especially not ecstasy. Kay also went on to tell people that I was on that, slipped her the drug, and she had to go to the hospital. She's a pathological liar and has had to go to therapy for a long time for mental disorders. All of this happened because she wanted me to get high like her. I could have committed suicide because I wasn't in the right state of mind. It still affects me to this day. It sounds cliche, but I have a hard time trusting people with this experience and among other things. I also don't like sharing drinks with friends. I get scared when I go out to a bar or a club, fearing the worst. I mean, if my own friend had done this to me, what's stopping a stranger? So I always guard my drink no matter what. So to Kay, let's not meet ever again. Yeah, that's pretty scary, and that's obviously not a good friend. A friend won't ever push you to do something you don't want to do, so, you know, just be careful out there. And what's scary about this is that she gave it to so many other people and they could have gotten hurt, and all for what? Like, what was the reason? You could have hurt people with stuff that you don't even know what is mixed in it. And oh my goodness, that's why I've never messed with stuff with friends. I just a lot of things can happen, and just ugh. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.